Dragonfly DB is a drop-in Redis alternative written from the ground up. It's built for the modern era of multi-core processors, utilizing a multi-threaded architecture. It has some pretty impressive performance claims as well, all of which I tested in this video here. But today I got a chance to talk to its co-founder and CTO, Roman Gershman, to find out more about his background and why he built Dragonfly. Let's jump into it. Are you able to tell us a little bit about your background? What led you to founding Dragonfly to be the in-memory data store? What makes you the expert at that?
Yeah, expert is a big word, but yeah, my name is Roman and I'm the co-founder and the CTO of Dragonfly DB and the initial creator of the Dragonfly project on GitHub. Beforehand, I was a principal engineer on the ElastiCache team at AWS. And beforehand, I was at startup, and also I was a Google engineer at Google, where I co-designed a Google Suggest service. The one that when you type your searches, it provides completions in real time.
Yeah.
And it was back in 2007, 2008. Yeah, and back then it was my first time when I had the privilege chance to design something that was super efficient, high scale, in memory, backend, and where I kind of fell in love with everything that is related to infrastructure and efficiency and scale.
You know, I did see on your Twitter bio as well, it says you're an ex-truck driver. Is that true?
Well, yeah, I was a truck driver at the army, in Israeli army. Yeah, so it was 25 years ago.
That's a cool jump to make.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm always laughing about this because our engineers in Israel, they had a very sophisticated jobs at the army, and the only one was an ex-truck driver, basically. But yeah.
So on that note, then obviously you worked with us on ElastiCache. What specific insights did you sort of pick up from that team there that led you to ending up to create Dragonfly DB as its own sort of product?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, when I left Google, it was back in 2014. I didn't know anything about the infrastructure that exists outside of Google. And I kind of learned about Redis by just searching the internet and became a Redis user. And in Google, we were told that if you need something like a key value store, you just use a persistent service like Bigtable or Spanner nowadays. So I felt a bit like a compromise to use Redis in our stack after Google. But then the ElastiCache, I just saw that it's super useful everywhere, and everyone uses in huge companies, small startups, and it has lots of usages, not just cache-specific use cases. Basically, that I don't need to be ashamed as an engineer to use Redis. It's a really useful product. And also that there is a huge demand for real-time, high-throughput, low-latency infrastructure on the one hand. And on the other hand, the technology behind is really behind. I mean, nowadays use cases require better reliability, better performance, and it's not something that customers that run workloads at scale could get. That's what I learned, my kind of personal impressions about it.
You know, on that note as well, was there any chance that you could have gone to AWS and said build something in-house? What sort of led you to deciding that you would go your own way and eventually quit your job at AWS, I guess?
Well, of course, I had those discussions with engineers on the team and with my managers, and I had a relatively high rank level, engineering level, so I could actually have those discussions. And I spent more than a year discussing this. And really, it's very subjective. Basically, there is a kind of status quo. And the other opinion was that the potential improvements that I'm suggesting are not enough in order to disrupt this market technologically. And basically, the core argument was, well, okay, Redis may be almost a good software, or it's it works in almost all the cases, Sometimes it doesn't. But is it really enough in order to build something from scratch? And at the end, I decided kind of that in order to kind of challenge this status quo, you need to be outside of the system. You need to take the risks and you need to start something yourself.
That's definitely a big risk, leaving AWS to start your own job. Was it sort of a scary time, or was it a good decision you made over sort of a course of time?
It was super scary on a personal level. I just had my girl twins around the time. It was in the middle of the COVID 22 or 2021, if I remember correctly. And I was working, at nights, basically, without pay for many months. So it was super scary, but it was also the most challenging, creative, and interesting, scary period of my life.
Yeah. No, obviously, on that note as well, then, what led to the decision to sort of restarting the entire code base from scratch and not doing a fork of Redis that seems to be quite popular with the license change at the moment?
Well, I observed another project, open source project called KDB. This team, they actually decided with the incremental change. And I felt that the architectural decisions that they took can't really solve all the issues around in-memory store, specifically around the transactions, complicated transactions with multi-key operations or multi-exec transactions, Lua scripting. Their approach basically led to high contention with multi-threading. I forgot to tell that they also tried to solve the same problem of a single-threaded Redis.
Yeah.
And I thought that the only way to solve it properly with covering all the use cases is by, unfortunately, redesigning the whole project from scratch.
But obviously you still kept the Redis API to sort of interface with Dragonfly itself. So in your opinion, are there any trade-offs when choosing Dragonfly over Redis?
Well, first of all, we kept all the APIs because I think part of Redis being so powerful is because of its ecosystem, all those frameworks that were built around it, and we want to keep it. So we try to make Dragonfly as compatible as possible with all those frameworks. We worked with Pull&Q creators. We worked with Psychic and others, ecosystems. I don't think that our users need to change much on their side. Definitely not in how their application works. Sometimes there is some tweaking and tunings that needs to be done on Dragonfly side. But basically, we just get better performance and high stability right from the start.
That sounds awesome. It really does help sort of make it that frictionless experience, and also makes it really easy to give it a go and actually try it out for yourself before you sort of make the big jump to move everything over. Obviously, the code as well is open source on GitHub, but do I believe it has a BSL license, and then that's changing in March 2029? Can you explain a little bit about that?
So we looked at all the attempts of other companies to work around this dynamic of open source motion together with how they compete with clouds. And just based on their, I would say, even mistakes, it's not really mistakes because we didn't know back then any better. But looking back, we decided that it would be unsustainable just to provide a plain Apache license. But we also didn't want to restrict our users with kind of non-permissive open source licenses like AGPL. And actually, BSL license, which we first saw, MariaDB, it's kind of more permissive, and it provides very strict guarantees towards our community users that our code base will be converted to Apache license in 4 years. So basically, every time we release significant version, we update this date to another 4 years. But this way, we kind of have this advantage over competitors because we have 4 years of development that only resort to us to provide, a managed service using the state-of-the-art version of this code base. So basically, that's about it.
That sounds very reasonable. Looking on the GitHub as well, I saw it's written in C++, if I'm right.
Yeah.
If you could choose anything else if you started over, would you? Obviously, Rust is the big one when people mention performance these days. I saw people on Hacker News saying, why didn't you choose Rust with this? Any reason?
Yeah, if I were 20 years old, I probably choose Rust. But on personal level, you like a cooking chef, they choose their own knives. For me, my tool is a C++, and it was a decision between start learning a new language, as excited and interesting as it could be, but still learn a new language and spend maybe 2 years doing this, or just start designing and implementing Dragonfly. And I just didn't want to waste those years on another tool, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you don't always have to jump to the trendy language. Otherwise, we'd all be just rewriting everything every 2 or 3 years when another new one comes out. I saw you're very active on GitHub still, and you're the CTO of Dragonfly. Are you still the biggest code contributor? And how large is the team that actually works on the core code?
The core team is less than 10 people. Mm-hmm. Our engineering team overall is around 20 people, but the core team, the C++ team, is less than 10. I try to keep it lean and mean, basically. All our team members are superstars. And I contribute a lot. I just enjoy it. I wanted to balance all aspects of me being a CTO, but it was really important for me to be hands-on. And if you look at even at our Discord community channels or GitHub issues, it's also very important for me to communicate with our users, our customers, in order to understand what kind of problems they experience. I don't want to have any middlemen between our users. Basically, I actually learned it from Salvatore Filippo. He also was very hands-on with Redis project, and I kind of felt that it's a good approach to make sure that your community stays active and involved.
I think it's a great approach. Pretty much everywhere that I looked, whether it was on a Hacker News thread about Dragonfly, I saw your name pop up and sort of defending or talking with people about their problems. And I think it's a great approach to sort of maintain being hands-on and actually know the customer themselves. Obviously, as a developer then, what is your coding setup like? Do you have any favorite tools or any productivity hacks?
I try new stuff from time to time. I currently use VS Code with all the C++ plugins in it. Recently, I started using Copilot. Do not use it to write all my code. With C++, it's super weird, but sometimes it can surprise me and provide a few lines of really good, high quality code. Usually, I just use it, to solve very specific issues. I mean, it's amazing how much our life has changed with all those AI tools.
Certainly, I think that's a great problem. I was also just thinking there as well. I think it's obviously great that you picked up the Redis API because LLMs are so well trained on that. So obviously makes sort of integrating that with LLMs and what it's going to suggest to people a lot easier to switch over to Dragonfly, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Another question then, just sort of a general one. Do you have any sort of tech hot takes or controversial opinions that you want people to know about?
I don't know what sounds controversial today.
Is there a language, anything that you sort of dislike, how it's got so trendy or anything like that? You don't have to have one, just worth asking.
Nothing extraordinary.
Okay, you don't absolutely hate Rust or anything like that?
Actually, I had the chance to learn a little bit of Rust, the ElastiCache team. First, I was against learning a new language. It was kind of enforced on me from above. But once I started using it, I actually enjoyed it very much. It's really its package system is very convenient. And I think that there are many things in that language were made right. And I wish I could use it for Dragonfly, actually. Like I said, I just didn't want to spend waste time on that. But I actually liked it. So no controversial opinions there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But as a final wrap up, then, what's sort of on the roadmap for Dragonfly DB? Obviously, you have Dragonfly Cloud now. Yeah, what's coming in the future?
We will have several exciting announcements in the coming days. I don't want to spoil it right now.
No worries.
But in general, from technological point of view, I just want Dragonfly be able to utilize as much resources on a server as possible. And right now we are looking at disk SSD disks as another resource that we can use efficiently. Today, local SSD drives are so fast that they can return data in dozens of microseconds, and definitely something that our users can utilize and not even notice. So we are looking for more smarter ways to use disk and to reduce in-memory costs even more. So basically, kind of seamless in-memory experience when behind the scenes there is a disk and there is memory, and Dragonfly handles everything in a transparent way.
Awesome. I'll keep an eye out for those announcements this week then. That sounds really cool. Yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. At the end there, Roman alluded to some announcements. Well, they just announced Dragonfly Swarm. Dragonfly Swarm combines vertical and horizontal scaling, offering terabyte scale performance with improved simplicity and cost efficiency compared to traditional Redis cluster setups. This new solution addresses the challenges of maintaining large in-memory deployments, promising significant performance gains and reduced infrastructure costs. I'd like to thank Roman again for talking to me. If you like this type of content, be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, see you in the next one.